And now we return to local news with Malcolm.
Saracens booked their place in the semi-finals of the Heineken Cup for just the second time in their history with a comfortable 27-16 victory over Ulster at Twickenham on Saturday. A superb defensive display underpinned a fine all-round performance as Sarries deservedly overcame last season's beaten finalists to set up a showdown against Toulon, which will be played at Twickenham in the last four on April the 28th. Director of Rugby, Mark McCall, said, "Ulster are probably the best team we've played this season, and for us to have been 27-9 up with 2 minutes to go says a lot about our performance. Our defence was brilliant, and we took our opportunities well when they came. I thought we worked unbelievably hard throughout the match. We forced them to play most of the game in their own half, and that's what we wanted to do. 12 months ago, we were very disappointed when we lost to Clermont Auvergne in the semi-finals, but this time we believed beforehand. We felt we had grown mentally and matured as a team, and we proved that on the pitch. Chris has had a lot of stick, but he's been exceptional for us over the past 3 weeks, and he took his try brilliantly." Saracens host Worcester in the Aviva Premiership on Sunday at 3 p.m, knowing that victory will guarantee them a top 2 finish and a home tie in the playoffs.
More than 1,800 residents in Enfield are at risk of losing some or all of their government support after changes to disability benefits came into force this month. On Monday, the government introduced further changes to the welfare system, with disability living allowance gradually being replaced by a new benefit known as the Personal Independence Payment. In Enfield, the number of DLA claimants is 12,270, and the government, which says the old system is outdated and that 71% of claimants are never reassessed, estimates that 1,870 people in the borough will lose some or all of the benefit following new face-to-face assessments and regular interviews. Disability campaigners say that they approve of the move to the new graduated points-based system rather than the all-or-nothing DLA style of benefit. However, they have expressed concern that many vulnerable people, including the deaf and mentally ill, could face a cut in crucial state support under the new system. Aaron Dryden, Chief Executive of Enfield Disability Action, said, "The scale of the transition to PIP is huge, and we hope the government will be able to treat approximately 2 million national claimants fairly in the process, particularly those with mental health issues who often find it hard to engage in complex processes. The assessments will be conducted by Atos, whose decisions on the employment and support allowance are reversed in 38% of appeals. This leads to our key message for disabled people. If you feel the decision is unfair, don't hesitate to appeal." Edmonton MP Andy Love claimed the stringent eligibility criteria for the new benefit are designed to fit Chancellor George Osborne's budget cuts and not to individual need. He called for reforms to be made only after consultation with the disabled. The Labour MP said, "This blunderbuss approach by the coalition government means that help for hundreds of my most vulnerable constituents has been taken away with no consideration for often very complicated needs." A Department for Work and Pension spokeswoman said, "Disability living allowance is an outdated benefit introduced more than 20 years ago and needs reform to better reflect today's understanding of disability, particularly for people with mental health conditions." The Personal Independence Payment will include a new face-to-face assessment and regular reviews, something missing in the current system. This will ensure that the billions we spend on the benefit gives more targeted support to those who need it most. According to the DWP, most existing claimants will not be reassessed until 2015, following the publication of an independent review next year. Those affected by the changes can contact Enfield Disability Action on 020 8373 6228, or email eda@e-d-a.org.uk.
An Enfield woman has led her team to a storming victory to reach the semi-finals of Tough Student Quiz Show University Challenge. Nina Grant, 26, is a French and linguistics student at Bangor University in North Wales and has steered her team through a succession of decisive victories as well as slightly unnerving defeat during this series of the notoriously difficult BBC Two contest. On Monday night, they clinched a resounding victory over King's College, Cambridge, trouncing their opponents by 195 points to 70. Speaking to the Advertiser after the episode, Nina said, "It was fun. We knew they could be beaten as they had been beaten in the competition twice before, so we weren't intimidated. We were both in the same place. Both teams had performed at the same level." Nina admitted that she was thrilled to have made it through to the last four. "Some of the most memorable teams in the competition have been semi-finalists," she said. "It's almost as big as an achievement as making it through to the finals." Giving a hint as to the secret of her team's success, she added, "It's really about learning that it's always better to try to answer the starter question. If you get it wrong, it's always worth trying for. Even if you get it wrong, it's always worth trying for." Nina and her teammates Simon Tomlinson, Mark Stevens and Adam Pearce dominated the quarter-final clash after getting off to a flying start, while King's College faltered. In the run-up to the semi-finals, Nina admitted that some of her team would be studying topics that might come up in the contest, but that the most popular way for students to brush up on general knowledge was to spend extra time in the pub, especially concentrating on quiz nights.
Oh, yeah, I like this story. The Southgate Symphony Orchestra will be performing a programme of French and German music on Saturday the 20th of April at 7:30 p.m. at Bourne Methodist Church, Southgate. Pieces include Beethoven's Symphony No. 7 in A and Andante for flute and orchestra by Mozart. For tickets, contact 07092879097. And St Mary Magdalene Church, Windmill Hill, Enfield, will be having a concert on the 8th of May, Catherine Leonard playing the piano, and that will be between 12:30 and 1 p.m. There'll be a retiring collection and a ploughman's lunch for £3 if you want in the choir vestry afterwards.
Here's an opinion piece from Monty Meth, who's life president of the Enfield Over 50s Forum. Just 10 days into the new fragmented National Health Service, and people are asking, how will it all end? For the first time in the history of the NHS, the majority of treatments will be put out to tender, with private organisations competing to win contracts to provide healthcare. GPs are allowed to keep some services within the NHS, but only in particular circumstances, such as when no private sector provider comes forward to bid. Everything else is up for grabs. That's how the Conservative supporting Daily Telegraph sees the new NHS. We are baffled, bemused and bewildered by a government that came in promising to start a bonfire of quangos, but it has instead created a huge network of new health service quangos. They're headed by a 6,000-plus Leeds-based national commissioning board supervising 211 separate clinical commissioning groups. They will have £65 billion to spend. Enfield's CCG's share is Enfield's CCG's share is 295 million. Another new quango, Public Health England, with a £5.45 billion budget, has given Enfield £12.9 million. If that sounds a lot, a new report ready for ageing should swiftly remove any complacency. This report by a House of Lords committee warns that only 8 years from now, the current healthcare system will be underfunded to the tune of £54 billion, because people are living longer and surviving with long-term health conditions. Among people over 65, diabetes will increase by more than 45%, arthritis, stroke and coronary heart disease cases will rise by more than 50%, Dementia will be up by more than 80% to 1.98 million, and the number of people needing social care will rise by more than 90%. Professor Sarah Harper, director of the Oxford Institute of Population Ageing, told the Lords, "You can say that 50% of babies born in 2007 will still be alive by the time they're 103. I don't see signs," says Monty, "I don't see signs of politicians of all parties and the decision makers considering the pensions and health costs on the economy if in 2021 there are 39% more people aged 85 and over."
Well, I hope I don't live to 103. The trial of a teenager charged with raping an 11-year-old girl in Jubilee Park was due to start this week. Opemipo Jaya, 18, of Oswood Place in Edmonton, was due to appear at the Old Bailey yesterday. Mr. Jaya, who had been remanded in custody after he was charged on November the 30th, is accused of assaulting the girl while she was on her way home from school in Galliard Road on November the 23rd last year. The trial is expected to run for 2 weeks.
An Enfield coffee owner says a new scheme aimed at providing free hot drinks for the homeless will only benefit large coffee chains, which will end up profiting from poverty. Karen Mercer, who runs My Coffee Stop on Platform 1 at Enfield Chase Railway Station in Windmill Hill, says the suspended coffee trend sweeping Europe won't help the homeless and that there are better ways to help those who are down on their luck. The scheme, which is being supported by coffee shops across the country, encourages customers to pay for an extra drink which is banked or suspended and given to a homeless person or a person in need at a later date. However, Karen, who is founder of the Shop Cash Mob movement, which promotes independent business in the borough, told the advertiser that the scheme runs the risk of increasing companies' profits while doing very little to help homeless and vulnerable people. "If we do this as My Coffee Stop, we will be doubling our profit," she said. This scheme essentially makes profit from poverty. Most independent coffee shops already give free drinks to people in need. One of our regulars is homeless, and of course he is given a free hot drink. He is made to feel included. It is not a big thing, it's just what we do. In response to the suspended coffee scheme, Karen and her partner Gunther Hollenstein have adopted an alternative way of helping the homeless. The couple will work with homelessness charity Shelter from the Storm, which runs a shelter in central London. And instead of taking money from customers themselves, the couple are asking those who want to help the homeless to text CAFE 132 pounds to 770. Coffee giant Starbucks is amongst those who have been under pressure to sign up to the suspended coffee scheme, but instead it is set to launch a system which enables customers to donate the price of a coffee to charity. The firm has linked up with community charity Oasis, which will dole out hot drinks to the homeless on behalf of Starbucks. The American chain, which hit the headlines last year after it emerged the company was dodging corporation tax, has also announced that it will match pound for pound every suspended coffee donation made by customers. Ian Cranner, Vice President of Marketing for Starbucks UK, said, "We want to play our part in contributing in a way that gets help straight to those who want and need it the most." Storm in a coffee cup.
Green-fingered residents are being invited to go potty for planting to celebrate the fast-approaching National Gardening Week. As part of the event, visitors are being encouraged to pot their own homegrown plants at the gardens of Millfield Arts Centre in Silver Street, Edmonton. The growing campaign is a bid to help Millfield scoop a host of prizes for the first time in the Enfield in Bloom competition. The gardens will be open between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. from Monday to Saturday, April the 20th. Visitors are invited to take a leisurely stroll around the 3 acres of land and visit the flower beds which gardener Sue Povey and her team of volunteers have been working on during the winter. Susan, who has been working at Millfield for 2 years, said the flower beds are looking bare, but they will begin to flower soon. We are encouraging residents who like gardening to grow a few extra plants for us and bring them along. Susan is hoping that the plants supplied by residents will not only bring colour to the display, but also help Millfield's In Bloom entries succeed in the borough-wide awards. She added, "We are trying to liaise with Enfield In Bloom to see if we can have different parts of a garden entered into different categories. I really want to encourage the community to get involved, and I think this is a great way to do it. I've also had a group of scouts working on a Japanese-themed recycling garden, which is lovely. We would like to enter that into the Enfield In Bloom competition under a second category, perhaps. We are also launching a hanging basket competition, and we're hoping to get about 40 hanging baskets. People can come along any day during the week and enter to be in for a chance of winning £50 in gardening vouchers. Saturday will include a special outdoor arts and crafts sale in front of Millfield House. Millie's Courtyard Cafe, situated in Millfield House, will be providing tea and homemade cakes each day. Visitors are also invited to bring picnics to share on the lawn at the gardens. Well, but only if it's a warm day, not like...
They were picnicking on the lawn in Stratford-on-Avon last weekend, believe it or not. Yeah, really. It's lovely. A singer from Southgate has been selected to represent the UK at the first ever International Cyprus Music Festival. Elena Christofi, 19, will be performing Leap of Faith, written by singer-songwriter Astir, when she competes against performers from 10 other countries at the festival next month. A festival jury will decide the winners in a number of categories, including Best Lyrics and Best Song. Eleni of Lakenheath told the Advertiser, "When the competition was announced, we submitted the song and the judges in Cyprus chose it and people could vote as well. The song was received quite well and other countries have shown interest, wanting to have interviews, which is really great. We have an interview with a Greek radio station soon. From a young age I was singing all the time. I can't remember a time when I didn't." Singing under her stage name, Eleni C., the teenager has recorded a sample CD with songs written especially for her. As well as being selected to perform at the International Cyprus Music Festival, Eleni was shortlisted for the MTV brand new Unsigned for 2013 competition with Building Castles, a song also written by Astir. Even though Eleni is pursuing her music career wholeheartedly, she's also continuing her studies at Goldsmiths University of London, where she's currently in the second year of a media and communications degree. She added, "I do want my degree, but I also want a career in music. And then I wonder, what happens if I don't make it? I need a plan B, but I'm doing everything I can to make it within music. This competition is therefore very important." The music festival takes place on May the 11th at the Kyriakos Stavroulou Amphitheatre in Nicosia. There are 3 prizes in the Best Song category. The winner will receive a full scholarship from Neapolis University in Paphos for 1 year, and the runners-up will get €1,000, with €500 going to the third-place singer.
This is a sporting one about boxing. Enfield super middleweight boxer Frank Bugliani takes on Eder Curti at Wembley Arena on April the 20th, and he stepped up his preparation for the bout with a week-long fitness training camp in Spain. Lucky him. The 23-year-old is unbeaten in his last 7 outings since turning professional and is ranked 11th in the British super middleweight division. Bugliani spent the week at the La Manga Club after finalising an agreement to become an ambassador for the club. It was his second visit to the venue since January, as he was put through his paces by trainer Mark Tibbs, and he's relishing his new role. Bugliani said, "La Manga Club couldn't do enough for me when I went there at the start of the year, and I was very impressed. I didn't hesitate to go back, and it was an easy decision to make when they asked if I was interested in becoming an ambassador. The first-class facilities and fantastic climate make it the perfect place to get some quality training in, both in the gym and around the resort, and I now feel fully prepared for the challenge that lies ahead this month." I think he's going to be a very good ambassador. Certainly got a lot of nice things to say about it anyway.
Enfield Town stalwart Rudy Hall will be returning to the club later this month when they hold a testimonial match in his honour at the Queen Elizabeth Stadium. Hall has made more appearances and scored more goals for Town than anyone else, and he had more recently been a member of the coaching staff before parting company with the club earlier in the season. And to mark his fine service to the club, Town have organised for a testimonial match to take place on April the 21st at 3:30 p.m. between a Rudy Hall 11, which has selected former teammates, and an Arsenal celebrity 11. It's a real honour that the club have arranged this match for me, Hall said. I was touched when the chairman, Paul Millington, called me to say that it was taking place. I was involved with the club for a long time, and I really enjoyed it and have got some very great memories. It's really hard to choose a team, and the people I've picked are those I have stayed in touch with over the years. I regard them all as friends, and I'm quite lucky to be in that position, because in football, when you leave a club, you very rarely keep in touch with people who are there. I'm sure it will be an emotional occasion, and it will be a special day, particularly for me. Hall's team will be managed by long-serving former Town boss Jim Chandler, and is set to include the likes of James Hannington, Andy Jones, Paul Campbell, Dave Bastian, Brian Hammett and Ricky Crace, in addition to the current management team of Steve Newing and Jason Dale. Tickets for the match cost £5 for adults and £1 for concessions and under 16s, and are available from the club shop on Saturday or by calling Les Gold on 07979 727 563. That's 07979 727 563.
A library will close its doors on Saturday to be replaced by a temporary building while a new one is built. Ordnance Road Library and Hertford Road will be demolished to make way for a combined centre on the same site with a GP surgery, dentist and a community hall when it reopens next year. A temporary library is due to open at 65 Ordnance Road on Monday, April the 22nd, while the development is carried out. Despite refurbishment in 2011, a feasibility study by Enfield Borough Council into the joint centre found the 40-year-old building to be unsuitable for renovation and suggested a rebuild would be necessary. The temporary library will open on Mondays, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. and on Fridays from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
The future of the fire brigade in Enfield, Barnet and Haringey will be discussed in a meeting later this month. The London Fire Brigade is encouraging people to attend the public consultation at Haringey Civic Centre in Wood Green, High Road, at 7 p.m. on Thursday, April the 18th. The meeting will discuss the draft 5th London Safety Plan, which outlines how the authority will lead the capital's fire service over the next 3 years. Under current plans, an extra fire engine will be assigned to Hendon Fire Station in Barnet, and there will be no changes to the number of fire engines or fire stations in Enfield or Haringey. The authority hopes to make savings worth £28.8 million by closing 12 fire stations, cutting back on 18 fire engines, relocating 4 fire engines, and cutting the number of firefighters by 520. So make sure you turn off those hair straighteners, won't you?
Metropolitan Open Land, which is MOL, is London's urban equivalent of the Green Belt. Policy 7.17 of the Mayor's London Plan says, the Mayor strongly supports the current extent of metropolitan open land, MOL, and its protection from development, having an adverse impact on the openness of MOL. In relation to planning decisions, it says, the strongest protection should be given to London's MOL and inappropriate development refused, except in very special circumstances, given the same level of protection as the Green Belt. The London Borough of Enfield's core strategy, the basis of planning in the borough, says the council will protect and enhance existing open space and seek opportunities to improve the provision of good quality and accessible open space in the borough by protecting MOL. On March 26, the Labour-led Planning Committee approved the building of a medical centre on MOL at Furze Farm playing fields, a centre for vulnerable adults on MOL land at Albany Park, and a primary school on MOL at Enfield playing fields. 3 very special circumstances in one evening. Just for good measure, on the same night, the Planning Committee approved the building of 4 5-bedroomed houses on Greenbelt land. Who's protecting Enfield's open spaces? And this is a letter from Ruth Hastings Hiquell.
Enfield's council has appointed a chairwoman to head the borough's new health watchdog. Deborah Fowler, whose previous experience includes 7 years as Chief Executive of Age Concern Islington and 3 years as a non-executive director on the boards of a number of NHS organisations, was handed the role as Chief of Health Watch Enfield on Wednesday last week. Mrs. Fowler's appointment will be followed by the naming of a full-time paid Chief Executive and a number of trustees to the board. Health Watch Enfield is responsible for championing the rights of patients and families using NHS and private healthcare services. It has an annual budget of £250,000 and will replace the local involvement network representing patients on forums that will decide health and social care strategies for the borough. Health Watch Enfield will operate alongside the new clinical commissioning group that will organise health services in the borough and also represent patients on the Enfield Health and Wellbeing Board. The newly created board is a forum made up of representatives from the council and the CCG and will plan the NHS services and address health inequalities in Enfield. Mrs. Fowler said, Health Watch Enfield is about ensuring that what local people say about care and health services is listened to and acted on so the quality of care improves.
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening.